Hi guys, welcome to the channel of Love Study Group. Okay, we are reading How to Raise Your Own Salary by Napoleon Hill. I did stop halfway through the chapter Employ Applied Faith, chapter 4. I'm going to pick up from where we left off. I did try to read this yesterday on a few occasions. I felt it was really coming in with yesterday's reading, but it wasn't coming out. It's coming out today, so let's see what the rest of this chapter is all about. Okay. Hill. At the close of our last discussion, Mr. Carnegie, you made the statement that infinite intelligence works through the minds of men and uses the most practical natural media available for carrying out the plans of the Creator. While you were speaking, the thought was running through my mind that the human brain, with its intricate system for receiving and sending thoughts, is the greatest of all the evidence of your theory that infinite intelligence is the real source of the power of thought. If this is correct, and I believe it to be, it is equally true that the greatest of all sources of power for the solution of our problems of life is that which is available through our own minds. Have I caught your viewpoint on this subject, sir? Carnegie, you have, and now I wish to take you for a little trip into the inner workshop of my own mind, where you will be permitted to take inventory of the vast resources of the mind as I see them. Once you have a complete perspective of the actual service the mind performs, I believe you will never again lack the self-reliance to draw upon the forces available to you through your mind for every need of life. And I believe too that you will have no difficulty in opening your mind at will for the guidance of infinite intelligence when you are faced with problems you cannot solve through reliance on your own reason. Hill, I shall consider it a rare privilege, Mr. Carnegie, to have your comments on the mind's vast store of riches. What peculiarity of the mind do you consider to be most significant? Carnegie, the most significant fact is that the mind is the only thing over which an individual has complete control. Surely the Creator did not provide man with this astounding prerogative without thereby conveying the definite idea that it is man's greatest asset. It also involves the responsibility to use and develop this asset. And second only to this right to control the mind is the important and equally significant fact that the mind has been wisely provided with a conscience to guide it in the use of the vast power it carries. It is also highly significant that the mind has been carefully screened against all outside intruders through a system that makes possible the opening and the closing of the mind at will. Hill, you speak of opening and closing the mind as though it were equipped with a door or a gate or some type of shutters. Will you please clarify your meaning on this point, Mr. Carnegie? Carnegie, the mind has been cleverly provided with a gateway of approach to infinite intelligence through what is known as the subconscious mind. And this gateway has been so arranged that it cannot be opened for voluntary use except by the mind that has been first prepared by faith. However, the gateway can be opened voluntarily from the other side, as it were, by infinite intelligence, when communication with man is necessary and without his consent. Man's control over his own mind relates only to his conscious mind. Hill, someone has said that the imagination is the workshop of the soul. Would you like to comment on that statement? Carnegie, well, of this I'm quite sure. The mind has been provided with a faculty of imagination, wherein may be fashioned ways and means of translating hope and purpose into physical reality. This is evidence to me that the imagination is indeed the workshop of the conscious mind. Also, the mind has been provided with the stimulative capacity of desire and enthusiasm, with which man's plans and purposes may be given action through the imagination. It has been provided with the power of will, through which both plan and purpose may be sustained indefinitely, thereby giving man adequate power to master fear and discouragement and opposition. It has been given the capacity for faith, through which the will and the reasoning faculty can be subdued, while the entire machinery of the brain is turned over to the guiding force of infinite intelligence. Get the full significance of this fact, and you will be near to the method by which one may develop faith. Hill, I have often heard you refer to the sixth sense of the mind. Just what do you mean by that term? Carnegie, the sixth sense prepares the mind for direct connection with other minds, thus making possible the operation of the mastermind principle. We've got Jasper coming to visit. You're going to come down? Yes, we're going to come down. I'm going to shake my head, your head at me. Okay, good boy. It has been provided with the power of will through which both plan and purpose may be sustained indefinitely, thereby giving man adequate power to master fear and discouragement and opposition. It has been given the capacity for faith, through which the will and the reasoning faculty can be subdued while the entire machinery of the brain is turned over to the guiding force of infinite intelligence. Get the full significance of this fact, and you will be near to the method by which one may develop faith. Oh, I did go back quite a bit. I do apologise. Let's carry on. Hill, I have often heard you refer to the sixth sense of the mind. Just what do you mean by that term? Carnegie, the sixth sense prepares the mind for direct connection with other minds, thus making possible the operation of the mastermind principle, by which it may add to its own power and stimulative forces of other minds that serve so effectively, at times to stimulate the imagination. The mind has been given the power to project itself into other minds through what is known as telepathy, and it may do so freely under two circumstances. First, where other minds have been left open, either voluntary or neglectfully, and second, where a relationship of harmony and oneness of purpose has been arranged between two or more minds, as in the case of the Mastermind Alliance. Hill, so far you have not mentioned the two rather obvious functions of the mind, the faculty of reason and the power of deduction. Where do these fit into your conception of the mind? Carnegie, the mind, through its capacity to reason, may combine facts and theories into hypotheses, ideas and plans. By the power of deduction, the philosopher analyses the past in order to predict the future. The mind has the power to select, modify, and control the nature of its thoughts, thus giving man the privilege of building his own character and of determining what sorts of thoughts shall dominate his mind. Hill, and what a power that is! I recall how you have repeatedly said that the dominating thoughts a person holds in his mind determine the set of his sails. Carnegie, yes, and the mind has an unlimited capacity to receive, organise, and store knowledge. It has been provided with a marvellous filing system for recording and recalling every thought it has expressed through what is called memory. The astonishing system automatically classifies and folds related thoughts in such a manner that the recall of one particular thought leads to the remembrance of its associated thoughts, and the mind functions secretly and in absolute silence, thereby assuring privacy under all conditions. Hill, what might one say about the power of the mind over the functions of the physical body? Carnegie, it has the power to aid in the maintenance of the health of the physical body, and apparently is the sole source of cure of physical ills, all other sources being merely contributory. It also keeps the physical body in repair. It controls and directs automatically a marvellous system of chemistry through which it converts all food taken into the body into suitable combinations for the sustenance of the body. It automatically operates the heart, with which the bloodstream is circulated to distribute food to the places where it is needed and to carry off the waste materials and the worn out cells of the body. Hill, would you say that the mind has a spiritual function in addition to the physical functions you have just enumerated? Carnegie, the mind is the common meeting ground wherein man may commune with the Creator through prayer, by the simple process of setting aside the power of the will I'm not sure what he's up to. You're going to come down? Good boy. Let me just find where I was. Okay. So the mind is the common meeting ground wherein man may commune with the Creator through prayer by the simple process of setting aside the power of the will and opening the gateway of the subconscious mind through faith. It has been given the power of emotion or feeling through which it can stimulate the body for any desired action at will. It is the source of all happiness and all misery, of both poverty and riches of every nature whatsoever, and it devotes its energies to whichever of these is dominated by the power of thought. It is the source of all human relationships, the builder of friendships, the creator of enemies, according to the manner in which it is used. It has no limitations within reason, save only those which the individual accepts through his lack of faith. Truly, whatever the mind can believe, the mind can achieve. Hill, to what extent do people generally avail themselves of the wonderful faculties of the mind which you have mentioned? Carnegie, regrettably, with all this miraculous power, the majority of people of the world permit themselves to be cowed by fears of difficulty which do not exist, save in their own imagination. The arch enemy of mankind is fear. Hill, perhaps it would be a good idea to name some of the most common fears which we permit to enter our minds and thereby become literally self-imposed limitations. Carnegie, we fear poverty in the midst of an overabundance of riches. We fear ill health in spite of the ingenious system nature has provided, by which the physical body is automatically maintained in working order. We fear criticism where there are no critics save those which we set up through our own imaginations. We fear the loss of love, of friends and relatives, although we know well enough that our own conduct is sufficient to maintain love through all ordinary circumstances of human relationships. We fear old age, whereas we should accept it as a medium of greater wisdom and understanding. We fear the loss of liberty, although we know that liberty is a matter of harmonious relationships with others. We fear death when we know it is inevitable, therefore beyond our control. We fear failure, not recognising that every failure carries with it the seed of an equivalent benefit. Instead of opening our minds for the guidance of infinite intelligence through faith, we close our minds tightly with every conceivable shade and degree of limitation based upon our unnecessary fears. Hill, but Mr. Carnegie, how may one develop faith? I'm sure that any help you can give along this line will be greatly appreciated. I repeat the question, sir. How may one develop faith? Carnegie, I tell you how. Faith may be developed by clearing the mind of its enemies. Clear the mind of negative thoughts and fears and self-imposed limitations and low. Faith has filled the place without effort. If you cannot take my word for this, try it for yourself and be forever convinced. There is no great mystery about the state of mind known as faith. Give it a place to dwell and it will move in without ceremony or invitation. Stop talking about faith and start practicing it. What could be more simple? We preach sermons and offer up prayers in the name of Christ, yet we rarely make more than a gesture at following his admonition for us to liquidate our problems through the simple state of mind known as faith. We build great edifices of worship in the name of Christ, yet we profane them with minds that are steeped in fear and self-imposed limitations which he clearly promised us we need not endure. Hill, you are surely speaking plainly on this subject and I hope people will profit by it. Carnegie, if I seem to speak plainly, be assured it is because I feel that mankind needs the quickening influence of plain speech to shock people into recognising that everything they need or want is already within their grasp. All they need to do is to take possession of their own minds and use them. To do this, man has no one to consult except himself. The approach to liberty, freedom and abundance of the material necessities and luxuries of life is through the individual's mind. This mind is the only thing over which he has complete control, yet it is the one thing he so seldom uses intelligently. Hill, Mr. Carnegie, would you care to name some examples of men who have taken possession of their own minds, and with what results? Carnegie. Once in a great while, the world is blessed by the presence of one who takes control of his mind and uses it for the good of mankind. Then it has found a genius, an Edison, an Aristotle, a Plato, or a great leader in thought and in action in some field of useful endeavour. Columbus took possession of his mind and gave us a new world, which now serves as the last frontier of human liberty and freedom. Orville and Wilbur Wright took possession of their minds and gave man wings and mastery of the air. Johannes Gutenberg took possession of his mind and gave us movable type, and thereby made possible every book we possess, and gave us the means of preserving the accumulated experience of mankind for the benefit of generations yet unborn. The list could go on and on. Let us learn from these outstanding examples of achievement one great lesson we all need to know, and that is the obvious fact that self-reliance and faith are based on definiteness of purpose, backed by definite plans of action. Procrastination and faith have nothing in common. Hill, from what you have said, Mr. Carnegie, the best way to start developing faith is by choosing an objective and beginning at once to attain it through whatever media available. Have I understood you correctly? Carnegie, quite correctly, lad. The development of faith is largely a matter of understanding the astounding power of the mind. The only real mystery about faith is man's failure to make use of it. I speak from personal experience when I say that faith is a state of mind which can be acquired and used as effectively and easily as any other state of mind. It is all a matter of understanding and application, truly. Faith without works is dead. My early days of youth were cursed by poverty and limitation of opportunity, a fact with which all who know me are acquainted. I am no longer cursed by poverty because I took possession of my mind, and that mind has yielded to me every material thing I want and much more than I need. Faith is now a patented right of mine. It is a universal power as available to the humblest person as it is to the greatest. Hill, your description of the possibilities of the human mind is both interesting and revealing, Mr. Carnegie. In all the reading I have done on the subject of psychology and the working principles of the mind, I have found nothing that approaches even approximately your description of the powers of the mind. Where did you acquire all this knowledge? Carnegie, what knowledge I have of the powers of the mind, I acquired from the greatest of all schools, the University of Life. It has been a habit of mine, extending backward over many years, to devote a certain amount of time daily to silent meditation and thought in connection with the plan and purpose and working principles of the mind. Some might call this habit getting in tune with the infinite. At any rate, it is a habit I shall continue as long as I live, and I heartily recommend it to all who wish to become better acquainted with the powers of their own minds. I have one other suggestion to offer that may be helpful in the development of faith, and that is the fact that all who master and apply the other 16 principles of the philosophy of American achievement will thus have placed themselves within easy reach of faith. This entire philosophy is one of action. It inspires effort based on definiteness of purpose, and this is exactly what is required in the development of faith. Okay, chapter 4 completed. Next chapter, chapter 5, go the extra mile. Okay, guys, so until I see you for that chapter, take care. Much love. Bye for now.